History is filled with artifacts. Museums are packed with crowns, swords, and statues of forgotten kings. But there is one object that has never been found. One object that was not just a symbol, but a weapon. A golden chest that could part rivers, shatter stone walls, and destroy entire armies. It was so holy that to look inside it meant death. It was so powerful that even the high priest could only approach it once a year, trembling, with blood to offer for his own life. This is not a myth. It is the most hunted, feared, and mysterious object in the history of the world. This is the true story of the Ark of the Covenant. To understand the Ark, we have to go back to the wilderness. The Israelites had just escaped Egypt. They were free, but they were vulnerable. They needed a leader, but more importantly, they needed the presence of God to go with them. But there was a problem. The God of Israel is a consuming fire. His holiness is so intense that no sinful human can stand in it and live. How could a holy God live among a broken people without destroying them? The answer was the Ark. God gave Moses very specific blueprints on Mount Sinai. This wasn't something Moses invented. It was a copy of a throne room in heaven. The instructions were precise. It was to be a chest made of acacia wood, a wood known for being incorruptible and resistant to decay. It was to be 2.5 cubits long, a cubit and a half wide, and a cubit and a half high. But it wasn't just a wooden box. It was to be overlaid with pure gold, inside and out. Not a speck of wood was to be visible. Around the top, a crown of gold. For carrying it, 4 gold rings were cast, with poles of acacia wood overlaid with gold slid through them. The command was strict. The poles must never be removed. The ark was always ready to move. But the most terrifying part was the lid. It was called the mercy seat. It was made of solid, pure gold. On top of it, 2 cherubim, angelic beings, were hammered out of the same piece of gold. Their wings stretched upward, overshadowing the cover, their faces looking down toward the mercy seat. This wasn't just decoration. God told Moses, "There I will meet with you, and from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubim that are on the Ark of the Testimony, I will speak to you." The Ark was the footstool of God on earth, and inside it held 3 things: the stone tablets of the 10 Commandments, the law that Israel had broken, a jar of manna, the bread from heaven, and Aaron's rod that budded, a symbol of God's choice. Once it was built, everything changed. When the ark moved, Israel moved. When the ark stopped, Israel stopped. The first true test of its power came at the Jordan River. The Israelites were facing a flooded river with no way to cross into the Promised Land. God gave a strange command. He told the priests to pick up the ark and step into the rushing water. Human logic said they would be swept away. Faith said God was in the box. The moment the feet of the priests touched the water, the river stopped. It didn't just dry up. The Bible says the water stood and rose up in a heap far upstream, a wall of water held back by an invisible hand. The priests stood firm on dry ground in the middle of the riverbed, holding the ark, while an entire nation walked past them into their destiny. The ark had opened the door, but it was also a weapon of war. The city of Jericho was a fortress. Its walls were thick, tall, and impossible to breach. Israel had no siege engines. They had no battering rams. They had the ark. For 6 days, the priests carried the golden chest around the city in total silence. Can you imagine the terror inside Jericho? Looking down from the walls, seeing this silent army marching, centering everything around a shimmering golden box. On the 7th day, they circled 7 times. The priests blew the trumpets, the people shouted, and the walls of Jericho didn't just fall, they collapsed flat. The presence of God, concentrated above that mercy seat, had done what no army could do. However, the power of the ark was not a toy. It could not be manipulated. Years later, when Israel had turned away from God, they found themselves losing a battle against the Philistines. The elders of Israel had a foolish idea. They said, "Let us bring the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord here, that it may save us from the power of our enemies." They treated the Ark like a good luck charm. They brought it into the camp, and the soldiers shouted so loud the earth shook. The Philistines were terrified. They yelled, "God has come into the camp! Woe to us!" But God will not be used. Israel lost the battle. 30,000 soldiers died, and the unthinkable happened. The Philistines captured the Ark of the Covenant. They took the holy vessel as a trophy of war and placed it in the temple of their god, Dagon. They thought their god had won. They were wrong. The next morning, the priests of Dagon entered their temple and found a statue of Dagon fallen on its face, lying on the ground before the Ark of the Lord. It looked like the idol was bowing down in worship. They set Dagon back up. The next morning, it happened again, but this time, Dagon had fallen and his head and hands were broken off, lying on the threshold. Only the trunk of Dagon was left. Then the plague started. The people of the city were struck with tumors and panic. They moved the ark to another city. The plague followed. They moved it again. Death followed. For 7 months, the Ark of the Covenant tore through the land of the Philistines like a radioactive isotope. They finally screamed, "Send away the Ark of the God of Israel, and let it return to its own place, that it may not kill us and our people." They put it on a cart pulled by 2 milk cows with no driver and watched. If the cows walked away from their calves towards Israel, it was God. And that is exactly what happened. The animals, guided by an invisible hand, walked the ark straight back to the people of God. But the fear of the Lord was still upon it. When the ark arrived at a town called Beth Shemesh, some of the men, driven by curiosity, looked inside the ark. They lifted the mercy seat. It was a fatal mistake. The Bible says 70 men died that day. They had treated the holy throne of God like a common curiosity. Years later, King David decided to bring the ark to Jerusalem. He loved God, but he forgot the rules. Instead of having the priests carry it on their shoulders with the poles as Moses commanded, they put it on a new cart. As the cart moved, the oxen stumbled. A man named Uzzah reached out his hand to steady the ark, to stop it from falling. It seemed like a helpful act, a reflex, but his hand touched the holiness of God. Uzzah fell dead on the spot. David was angry and terrified. He shouted, "How can the ark of the Lord come to me?" He realized that good intentions are not enough when dealing with the creator of the universe. God is not safe. He is good, but he is not safe. 3 months later, David returned. This time, he did it right. The priests carried the ark. Every 6 steps they stopped and sacrificed to the Lord. David danced before the ark with all his might, bringing it into Jerusalem with joy and trembling. Finally, King Solomon built the temple. The moment the ark was placed in the Holy of Holies, the cloud of God's glory filled the temple. It was so thick, so heavy, that the priests could not stand to minister. The glory had found its resting place. And then, silence. Centuries later, when the Babylonians came to destroy Jerusalem, the Ark of the Covenant is not listed among the items they stole. It simply vanishes from history. Did the prophet Jeremiah hide it in a cave on Mount Nebo, as some ancient texts suggest? Is it buried deep beneath the Temple Mount in a secret chamber, waiting to be revealed? Or perhaps God simply took it back, removing his footstool before the temple was burned. In the book of Revelation, the Apostle John sees a vision of the end times. He says, "Then God's temple in heaven was opened, and within his temple was seen the ark of his covenant." Perhaps the ark is gone from the earth because we no longer need a wooden box to find God. The veil of the temple has been torn. But the story of the ark remains a powerful warning and a beautiful promise. It reminds us that God is holy, powerful, and dangerous to those who oppose him. But for those who walk with him, he is the power that parts rivers, brings down walls, and leads us home.